pitch. Swing and a miss. Struck him out. The Philadelphia Phillies are 2008 World Champions of Baseball. Brad Lynch does it again and stays perfect for the 2008 season. 48 for 48 in save opportunities, and let the city celebrate.
Aloha and hello out there, everybody, and TGIF. Happy Good Friday out there, April 19th. I am your co-host, Miho, from the Too Close to Call podcast. I am joined by my co-host here, Pags, and this episode, or this segment, whatever the hell we're calling it, this is going to be our weekly Philadelphia Phillies podcast. I know I've been giving you guys a little bit of post-game, kind of some play-by-play, but Pags is going to join us for a weekly show that's going to basically kind of wrap up more of a big picture ideas, problems, solutions, all of the above for the Phillies.
Hey, I got solutions to all problems with the Phillies because you know I'm a baseball guy.
Excellent. Yes, the football gentleman's going to solve all the problems on the diamond. But
listen, we're going to throw strikes and we're going to hit the ball out of the ballpark.
You sound like Bull Durham, right? It's an easy game. You throw the ball, you hit the ball, you catch the ball.
Is there any other part of the game?
You lollygag around the end. You guys are lollygaggers.
Hey, first place after 18 games, winning all but one series in the NL East.
So the Phillies, like you mentioned, 11-7 in first place, up a game on the New York Mets, and the 7 losses is the second least amount in the National League, with the Pirates only having less at 6. So the Phillies are certainly one of the top teams in the NL, even with the fact that since the opening series, they've kind of played only about 500 baseball.
Squeaked out one against Miami over the weekend. A little too close for comfort. Hammered them game 1 and then get hammered game 2. Game 3 had to go to extras. I mean, this team has been playing a lot of baseball without a break.
I think it's 17 straight games in 17 days, and we're on day like 5 or 6 or something like that. So they play these next 10 days in a row. And honestly, Pags, like you mentioned, outside of that sweep, they've won 2 of 3 in every series and split the other one. But it's one of those things, man. Baseball's a funny game, but over the course of 162, if you take 2 out of 3, 2 out of 3, 2 out of 3, you end up with a pretty good fucking record.
This lineup is insane. This lineup, it shows that one guy's down, the other guy's carries the squad. And we need to get starters out of the 5th inning, which is driving me insane.
So where do you want to start? Do you want to start with the rotation, or do you want to start with the lineup?
Let's start with the lineup.
All right, so the lineup we've had a couple of different injuries recently, so there's going to be some changes to the lineup. 2 injuries we'll touch on, Pags, is Gene Segura tweaked a hamstring. He's kind of day-to-day. He's probably going to miss about 5 days. There's no need to put him on that 10-day DL because they think he'll be back by then. And Scott Kingery is going to basically be your shortstop until then, and it may be a little bit of a blessing here because Kingery was trying to hit his way into the lineup anyway.
Yeah, he's ripping the cover off the ball. I mean, went 3 of 4 the one day with 3 singles, and then he's been hitting the ball out of the ballpark the last couple of games. It's nice to see.
He's starting to get up there a little bit in at-bats. He's hitting .414 through 29 at-bats, but is driving the ball more, and the most we've ever seen out of him with 2 home runs and 4 doubles. So 6 extra base hits and 29 at-bats is definitely something that we didn't see last year whatsoever from Kingery.
Yeah, it seemed like last year people were leaning towards the fact that they might have been premature with bringing him up and giving him the contract and everything. And I think last year paid dividends just giving him all that experience with a not-so-great team. Hopefully it pays dividends and he ends up becoming a regular starter eventually.
Well, baseball even more so than kind of football. Maybe not more so, but really you can see them happening, but the adjustments that are made by the pitcher and then the hitter and then the pitcher and then the hitter over the course of weeks, because last year there was clearly a book on how to get Scott Kingery out. Like, yes, this is how you do it, attack him this way, and you're going to have success. Okay, well, it's tough to adjust to that within the season, so it's nice to see Scott during the offseason was, hey, this is how they're getting me out, so I need to counter by this. And we're seeing that counter punch here early in the season. So now it's just going to be a matter of those pitchers that readjust, and if Scott can kind of do that in the moment and not, okay, let me wait till I have 3 months after the season to figure it out, and on-the-fly adjustments, those are the differences between those good and great Major League players. That's for everybody, not just Kingery, and that's what you see happen. I mean, we saw Hoskins come up his first year, do well, and then he'll go up and down. I mean, right now he's only hitting 233. He still has the extra base hits and the power, but his average, he's not hitting that single up the middle or the other way, and for that matter, neither is Harper, and that's why his average has dipped down all the way to 250.
This is going to happen within a season. I mean, I have no doubt these guys flip it around and start mashing again, and no place better to do that than in Colorado where the balls fly off the bat.
Yeah, we can hope, right? You're certainly going to have to out-hit them there because our pitching staff isn't going to be throwing up zeros.
Is that a good segue to jump into the old...
Well, let's just mention briefly here a couple other things positionally. Odubel Herrera down to the DL. Robin Quinn off the DL actually coming up, and the timing of that actually saved Aaron Alter's job because with Odubel still around, you had nowhere. Okay, Quinn's coming up. Who we send it down? It's either Nick Williams or Aaron Alter. And Nick Williams, even though he has options, that's where it would have been funny to kind of see the political side of baseball because you can send Nick Williams down no problem, even though he's a better player than Aaron Alter. But Aaron Alter would have to clear waivers, and I don't think he would just because of his attributes and the potential there. So it would have been funny to see if they send down the better player just to make sure they keep the worst one, or if it's finally at the point of, yeah, Aaron, if this costs you a job, so be it, because you've had ample amount of opportunity to establish yourself and just haven't.
And the business side of baseball is wild.
Yeah, just they own these guys for years and years, so it's chaos.
That's crazy.
But, yeah, we'll jump over to the pitching, jump to the rotation. We've had one big move so far. Nick Pivetta, god-awful, through, I believe it was 3, maybe 4 starts, and Matt Klentak basically came out, pimp-slapped him, and said, dude, we don't have time for your shit this year. Get your ass down to Lehigh Valley to figure it the fuck out, because we're going to go with Jared Eickoff, who's been much better than you so far.
Yeah, you almost think that Pivetta might have been sniffing his own shit and just being like, yeah, I'm going to be the breakout guy for the Phillies this year, and man, has he been bad.
We're going to find out what kind of mental toughness Pivetta has because, seriously, dude, I mean, I know they say that the guns are juiced in spring training, but that dude was 98, 99, and the other day it was like 94. Those guns aren't 5 miles an hour juice. So literally it just seemed like Pivetta's fucking asshole puckered so tight, and he was just throwing like, oh, please don't hit this. Oh, my God, please. I have to be good. Jesus, instead of fucking whipping his dick out and saying, here's 98 with a hammer curve. You can't fucking touch it. I don't know, man. It was just literally it was hard to watch him pitch, and that's where I mentioned on the post game, that's as critical as we've seen Gabe Kapler of anybody, like calling him out. He didn't call him out, but he was like, he had no conviction. There was no oomph. And he basically said what I just said in a much nicer manner.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see if he has the mental fortitude to right himself at the Lehigh Valley and come back. It'll be interesting to see when he comes back and how he comes back, how he presents himself in his first start once he's back in the major leagues.
I would assume it's going to be, 3 to 4 starts, man. We're looking at 3 weeks down there for him, unless Eflin, who was okay last night, he wasn't terrible. They're not talking about demoting him. You got Arrieta. Nola's not going anywhere. Eickoff, they're going to give at least a chance here, 2 to 3 starts. So the only guy would be Velasquez. And, hey, this is what we want. We want the pressure. I mean, Drew Anderson came up the other week for, I think it was Robertson when he got hurt. The reliever had some elbow problems. He's up. And Drew Anderson's another guy who didn't look terrible through 2 innings. I know he's not high on the prospect list, but I liked what I saw out of him this year as opposed to, he had that spot start in Pittsburgh over the summer, and he was just kind of a guy. He looked a little bit more comfortable and somebody who's trying to say, hey, man, I'm an option here too.
For sure. It'll be interesting to see. It's nice to have the depth, the ability to bring people up that don't suck.
Oh, my God, right? But, hey, quick kudos to about 3 to 4 people here as I'm looking at some names. First of all, Adam Morgan. Unbelievable. He is kind of the Ryan Presley of the Philadelphia Phillies. I mean,
Yeah.
he was drafted out of Alabama as a hard-throwing lefty. He was a starter. It didn't really work. He went to the bullpen. He was trying to figure it out. He's up, down. He's up, down. And all of a sudden, here we are with 9 appearances, 7 2/3 scoreless to start the inning, and he's clearly been our best pitcher.
He tried to blow it against the Mets the other day when he hit Cano and walked the other guy, and it's like, oh, God, come on, Adam.
Figure it out, right? Pat Neshek, again, more solidness out of the dude. Not everybody may like him. He's a little quirky, could get under the skin of some people, but hey, when he's on the mound, the motherfucker gets outs. So continue to do your thing. The third guy I have here is Hector Neris. He's given up 2 runs in 7 innings, but he has shown a little bit of that savvy. I mean, the other night had a 3-2 count, bases loaded, 1-run game, and he threw a fastball right down the heart of the plate. You know, in the past there, he would have walked the guy or gone to the splitter, and he basically was like, dude, here it is, hit it, and he threw it right past the guy. So yeah. I think he's kind of continuing to learn that, like, his stuff plays here, and if he just gets into the fucking zone, he's going to be just fine. And the last guy is my guy, Pags, Jake Arrieta.
Jake.
4 starts, 4 quality starts, 3-1, 2.25 ERA. Pags, he didn't have 4 straight quality starts at any time last summer at all.
I read a tweet that a guy said that Jake in his 30s now is starting to come into form of how Derek Lowe did when he was in his 30s, not striking out a lot of people, but he's getting ground balls 90% of the time, which is getting people out.
It's the evolution of the pitcher, right? You don't have the 95, 96 straight anymore, so you go to the 92, 93 with run. And ask CC Sabathia 11 years later here after that 08 run with the Brewers. You know what I mean?
Right.
So you
got to figure it out once your body breaks down a little bit.
Exactly right, man. It's the evolution of, okay, I can't throw it by him anymore, so how do I still get him out? And to your point, that 90% ground ball or however the high percentage was the other night, that's what you're going to get. And now that you actually have a capable major league defense behind him, he can go deeper into games instead of having errors and then there's hits and all of a sudden you get 6 out of him because, you know, he's throwing 100 pitches because there were 2 errors behind him, which led to extended innings.
We got to give kudos to the defense. Defense hasn't been a alter except for the Hoskins missed.
They've cost him one game.
It cost him a game, so, hey.
Like we said.
There's reasons to be positive.
That's it, Pags. Like we
good.
said, they've gone from non-historically bad to just bad. So we'll take it.
There it is. Hey. I'm excited. I'm going to catch the go to Citi Field and catch the game. So I'm excited to talk about that on the next podcast, next Phillies podcast.
Yeah, that's right. They got the Rockies, followed by the Mets, and then the Marlins next weekend by the time we'll talk to you. They'll have 3 more with the Rockies, 3 with the Mets, a couple with the Marlins. That sounds like we mentioned, man, continued divisional games through this Marlins series. So hopefully they can stay at the top of the division, which ultimately we know is going to be a competitive one. I think we got 4 teams within 2, maybe 3 games, depending on what night you're looking at the standings. So it's going to be a fun little race here from April through September.
For sure. And Phils keep rocking their Sixers gear, supporting the city. It's a fun time to be a Philadelphia fan.
That's it. And hey, we're still coming around on the name here for this podcast. It's going to be something around the Phanatic. I, unfortunately, just haven't had those creative juices hit me yet, but I think they will by next week.
Yeah, let me get a couple of beers in me tonight, and I'll have it figured out by the end of the night.
That's it. So, hey, this is our once-a-week Phillies podcast where Pags joins me, and we dive in a little bit further just beyond that kind of play-by-play post-game.
Go Phils.
The 0-2 pitch, swing and a miss, struck him out. The Philadelphia Phillies are 2008 World Champions of Baseball. Brad Lynch does it again and stays perfect for the 2008 season. 48 for 48 in save opportunities, and let the city celebrate.